Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter World, and today we're going to be talking about KULVE TAROTH. Naturally, that event is going to be going live in just a couple of hours, so I think everyone's pretty excited about what's about to happen. Now, personally, I'm excited to see how the whole mechanic kind of comes together. For those of you that still don't know, KULVE TAROTH is going to be very much a multiplayer-focused event. As a matter of fact, up to 16 players can participate towards the progress of one KULVE TAROTH hunt, and that to me is a very exciting prospect, because up until this point, even though you can have a lobby with up to 16 people, only 4 of them are usually teamed up together on a specific hunt, or sometimes you'll have 4 doing something and then a group of 2 doing something else, and then all kinds of other different groups. But usually each person is involved in its own thing, and each of them is doing its own separate hunt and its own separate progression for whatever they happen to be working towards. So having a quest that actually involves everyone on a gathering hub is something that, to me, I'm very curious to see how that's going to work. Now, technically, the way that they've explained it, for those of you that still don't know, what's going to happen is you can get up to 16 people in the same hub, whether you have 16 or you have 8 or you have however many people you have in that gathering hub. If someone starts the KULVE TAROTH quest, you can get 3 more people to join that quest. So you're still talking about a limit of 4 players per active quest. The difference here is if you have another group, say of another 4 players working also towards KULVE TAROTH, the progress that both of these groups are making is going to count towards the global progression in that particular session. And that is something that I'm very curious to see how it's going to work out. And it is something that we've never really seen in Monster Hunter. It's almost like a raid, basically, is kind of the way that I choose to see this. So naturally, we want to have as many lobbies filled up with 16 players as possible, and hopefully those 16 players will be able to organize themselves in groups of 4 in order to better tackle the event and to get as many broken parts as possible. And I say broken parts because that is going to be your objective. The ultimate objective of the KULVE TAROTH hunt is to break its horns. Now, they've said that you're not really going to kill KULVE TAROTH. You're essentially like repelling him the same way that you've driven away Zora Magdaros. So it's going to be one of those kinds of quests, but don't think of it as just, oh, so you mean just sitting behind cannons? No. This one's going to be different. You're actually going to be engaging in fight with the monster itself. You're going to go toe-to-toe with it. As a matter of fact, you can even mount it, and you can paralyze it. You can knock it down from your mount, because those are things that I've seen in the live stream. Speaking of which, the footage you guys are watching is from the Japanese live stream. I'm sorry about the quality. Continuing onwards, the reason I say it's important for you to break off parts from KULVE TAROTH is because that is going to dictate the number of rewards that you will get once you actually succeed in finishing the quest. So that is why you want to break as many as possible. The more stuff you break, the more stuff you're going to get. Now, you also, as you break parts, eventually you might even see the Gajalakas show up, and they kind of reminded me of the gnomes from Golden Axe. Maybe that's just showing my age. I don't know how many of you guys played Golden Axe, but basically there were these gnomes that would show up in the night and would steal your stuff. That's kind of what these Gajalakas seem like they're doing. So as you break off parts from KULVE TAROTH, he's going to start dropping shinies, and the Gajalakas will show up and try to steal those shinies from you, which means you have not only to fight KULVE TAROTH, but you also have to fight off those Gajalakas and make sure that you pick up as many materials as possible. So the materials themselves will be used for you to craft armors and stuff like that at the smithy, which is very much like you've done with every other hunt in Monster Hunter World. However, the weapons, it's going to be different. As far as I can understand, you're not really going to be crafting weapons. What you're going to be doing is, when you finish the quest, depending on how well you did, you're going to receive a bunch of rewards. Among those rewards, you're going to get weapons, and those weapons are going to be random. So you're not really going to be able to pick, oh, but I want to get the Gunlands, or I want to get the Dual Blades. Like, no, the game's going to give you a random weapon. And I know people don't like RNG and people are upset about it. Just relax, because it's not going to be as RNG as it was with 4 Ultimate, with the Relic system, because in 4 Ultimate, according to what I'm told, because I never really played that far, you were able to get a weapon which would have purple sharpness and amazing affinity and amazing damage, and then you would be able to get the same weapon but with completely trash stats, bad affinity, bad sharpness, bad everything, right? In this one, it's not going to work like that. There's going to be a loot pool of weapons, and those weapons are set in stone. Now, there's going to be a couple of weapons that are better than the other ones, but it's like, say, if I get the golden cannon of awesomeness, you will also get the golden cannon of awesomeness. Or maybe you will get the golden cannon that is not as good, but it's going to be a different weapon altogether. It's not going to be like a variation with less affinity or a variation with less sharpness. No, it's going to be different weapons. There will be weapons that are better than the other ones, but they're going to be just like its own thing. They're not going to be like randomizing certain stats on a specific weapon. That's not how it's going to work out on KULVE TAROTH, okay? And I know that some of this stuff is a little bit confusing. The other thing that they've mentioned in one of the live streams is that KULVE TAROTH is going to have different forms. And that confused me. I'm not exactly sure what that means. Does that mean that once we break certain parts, then you will show up with different parts broken? Or does that mean that there is actually different versions of the monster that are going to require different strategies to beat? I didn't really understand that part all that well, but I'm very curious to see once the event shows up, and I'm excited to see the whole thing pan out. But basically, the whole objective of this is for you to chip away at its golden armor and break off as many parts as you possibly can. Because once again, like I said, and I will repeat, the more things you break, the more rewards you get. And like I said, if your ultimate objective is to break off the horns, that's probably the last thing that you want to focus. If you want to get as many rewards as possible, make sure that you break as many of the other things as possible throughout the whole encounter. Now, this encounter also has multiple phases during which the monster is going to act in different ways. I don't know all of the specifics throughout the live stream. There was a phase where the monster is just like constantly moving forward, and you can use, stage traps as well as cannons and a bunch of other stuff to blow it up. I'm assuming you're going to be able to set like checkpoints with traps and stuff so that you can really exploit that. And as the monster progresses through the stage, it eventually actually changes its fighting patterns, like there will be a stage that is chock full of lava and the monster itself will be spewing fire at you, and then there's another stage where there's not lava anymore and therefore the monster will try to come at you and attack you with melee hits. So there's a wide variety of things that are going to be taking place throughout this whole thing. It is definitely a much bigger arena than the stuff that we've seen for Zora Magdaros, and it feels much more ambitious than that. So now let's talk a little bit about logistics, because a new event is all well and good, but I know that a lot of people feel a little bit disenfranchised because up until this point they've been able to do pretty much everything they've wanted solo. And, you can also team up with randoms if you ever have a couple of monsters that are a little bit harder. But a lot of people have just been playing the game completely solo. So the first question in their minds is, can I solo this event? And the answer is not really that easy, because basically the answer is it depends on how good you are. Because is the event soloable? Yes, you can start the quest by yourself, and you can go in by yourself, and you could potentially even beat him by yourself. The difference is they are not scaling this particular encounter down. Whereas all of the other quests in Monster Hunter World right now, they have two variants, which is you have the regular quest in normal mode. If you are playing it solo, it's going to have a certain amount of hit points, and so on and so forth. So it usually has less hit points so that you can do it solo without much problems. And then it has the multiplayer version, which is scaled up to account for the fact that there are more players hitting on it, and therefore he's going to have a bigger health pool. But usually that more than makes up for it due to the fact that there can be up to 4 players beating on that monster, and therefore, it balances itself out. The difference is that this quest doesn't really scale down. Now, if you want to get a feel for what this particular thing feels like, you can go up to the arena and fight monsters in the arena, because those monsters don't get scaled down either. All of the monsters in the arena, unless it's like a specific single player quest, but from the arena quest that you take at the Gathering Hub, all of the monsters there are not scaled down. They're all scaled towards multiplayer, and you can try solo one of those. And you will see that it takes you considerably more time, it's a little bit more challenging, so on and so forth. That's what you can expect from KULVE TAROTH if you go in there to solo it. The other question might be, do I need PlayStation Plus? I believe you will need PlayStation Plus or Xbox Live, depending on what platform you're playing, in order to engage in multiplayer. And I know that a lot of people are going to have a problem with that. It's like, look, this is not my choice. I'm not the one making the game. And then the other thing becomes, okay, so we need to organize people in groups of 16 in order to get these sessions going, or what is the easiest way for me to find a session? Like, I just want to get in, I don't mind if it's with randoms, and just do the thing. Well, basically, the easiest way to get in through the game itself and try to find like-minded individuals is if you actually go to the online session which you can do this at any quest board or the handler or whatever. You can go to the online session, and if you go there and you can go search for an online session, and then you can select filter search, and in filter search you can go to quest preference, and there, if you start moving towards the right, you will notice that you actually get the names of all the monsters that you've unlocked so far. So if you're the right hunter rank, which in this case is hunter rank 16, and if you have the quest available, because you still have to do the whole tracking stuff like you've done for all the other quests before this, you have to go on expeditions and find the tracks of KULVE TAROTH before they actually enable the quest for you. But if you've done all this stuff, then KULVE TAROTH will be one of the options that you can cycle through and filter so that it only shows sessions that are running KULVE TAROTH. That is the easiest way for you to get in with a bunch of randoms and go hunt your own KULVE TAROTH. Now, some people might not want to play with randoms. I've noticed that a lot of people want to join the Ironbreaker squad. It's like, look, you guys, Ironbreaker squad is unfortunately already full. It filled up last night, and I know that a lot of people still want to join. And I want to try to make things as easy as possible for you guys. I'm not going to create sub-squads because I don't have time to manage that stuff, and that stuff is probably not going to work anyway because basically the activity from the squad is going to change to whatever squad I happen to be playing on. So it just doesn't make sense. It's basically me cycling through, I don't know, 300 to 400 people, 50 at a time. It just doesn't make sense to do that. So what I did instead is I've created a bunch of channels in my Discord, and the idea here is very simple. These channels are named Monster Hunter World PS4 KULVE Alpha, and then Bravo, Charlie, and Delta. And then I also created 2 channels for Xbox. The reason I did that is because from what I've seen so far in my live stream activity, there's less people playing on Xbox than PlayStation 4. I might add more channels or reduce the number of channels depending on how much these are getting used. But the idea behind these channels is to get like-minded individuals that want to go and farm KULVE TAROTH and just communicate through party or whatever, and have like a platform that you can come in and just talk to each other, okay? So the idea here is if you're the first one on the spot, you're going to go always check the Alpha channel because it's the first one. And you go there, and the first thing you want to do is look for the text that's been written by whoever is in that channel. See if anyone created a session. If nobody's created a session, go in there, create a session, and then post your session ID, okay? First session ID that shows up, and I mean like 2 people can be creating a session ID at the same time. The first person to post their session ID, that's the one that counts, okay? And everybody else, just try to join that session ID. If you try to join that session ID and you see that it's full, then go to KULVE Bravo and create a new session ID, and the same rule applies. Basically, the idea is to try and fill up these lobbies with 16 people. If your lobby starts getting low, see if you can go to one of the other lobbies. Maybe it's getting low as well, but you guys get the idea. And then once you get there, start creating those quests. Start posting those quests for KULVE TAROTH. Always check, do join quest. If there's no active quest, post your own, okay? Post your own KULVE TAROTH quest. The idea is, let's make sure that we fill up. Remember, there's 16 players. Each hunt can have up to 4 players, so the ideal setup is 4 groups of 4 players, all working towards the same objective. So let's try to get that stuff to fill up, and yeah, that's kind of the system that I came up with, just to kind of give you guys an option. If you guys want to try and get together in my Discord, do that. There's probably going to be a lot of other streamers as well at any given time, live streaming the event and doing the event. So check the community, check the Monster Hunter community on Twitch, check to see who else is live streaming and see if you can join their session. And you know, like I said, there's going to be tons of people running this. I'm sure of it. So I'm pretty sure you can find a party. Now, I know that the event is limited. It ends on the 3rd of May. So therefore, you know, you might have to hustle a little bit if you want to get everything. But just remember, it's not a one-time thing. This event is going to come back. So if you don't get everything you want now, don't worry about it. In a couple of weeks, they'll put the event up again, most likely, okay? It's not like this is going to happen once and then never happen again. And I know that some people are like, why can't it just stay here forever? Because if it stays here forever, what's going to happen is a bunch of people are going to get in there, do it, get their stuff, and then it's just going to become dead. And an event like this actually requires the community to go around it. So the fact that it is an event, I think it makes more sense than they just adding it in and then leaving it there, because people will get what they want out of it and they will stop running it. Whereas this way, people are like, well, the event is back. Let's go run it again. You know, I think it makes more sense. And I know some people are going to agree. Some people are going to disagree. I'm just excited to see what the hell is going to happen. Hopefully tomorrow I will have a couple of build suggestions for you guys. And depending on how things work out on my Discord and all of that stuff, I will see if we need to do adjustments or how I can help all of you get as much as you possibly can out of this event. But I don't know. We'll have to get it started. We'll have to see what happens. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Remember, subscribe, hit the notifications, all of that stuff. And I'll see you guys later tonight on Twitch for the first KULVE hunt. Peace out.